What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. It has been a couple of days since I've wrenched on the car, and today we're going to pick back up on the CRX with the engine bay. So if you guys haven't seen the last videos of this car, I do have a playlist for it. We did the interior of the car, we did the front cabin harness of the car, we did the wire tuck right here, and right now I'm leaving the fenders off because I do want to paint the engine bay, and we also picked up the motor mount. So in this video I'm going to focus on stripping the engine bay down. At least I think I'm going to be stripping the engine bay down. I got to jack up the car and figure out what front brake system I have in it, and if it is DA, we are converting to disc brakes. I do have one last 4040 prop valve from my junkyard haul, and this is from a DA which has the same bracketry as the EF, so I can bolt it up where, I mean, at this point it doesn't matter where I bolt it up to because prop valve is relocated. When I took the wheels off to sell, I did notice that the brakes were a little bit bigger than stock, so I want to pull the wheels off, check what size it is, and then if I have to, I'll switch out to the 4040 prop valve. I have the disc brakes in the storage, but our focus is not on the brake system today. Our focus is cleaning up the engine bay and getting it prepped for the motor mount. Probably hang the motor in. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that today, but get the motor mount fully welded in, making sure that the engine sits where it needs to be, and then we're gonna prep it for paint. Man, somebody lost this little screw thing right here for the bar. I don't want this jack no more. I'm gonna hit a Blocks and see if they can give me a new one. So because I'm keeping this build budgeted, you know, I'm using a lot of parts from the junkyard, which I'll run across you guys when I install them. I ordered an eBay traction bar, and because I have a welding machine, I'm gonna show you guys how to reinforce the traction bar when I get it in the mail. I'm gonna take off this T-bar so that it'll be easier for me to get in and out of this engine bay, just as I suspected. So these rotors are 10-inch rotors, DA's 94 plus Integras. They come 10-inch rotors, and stock EF comes like 9.1 or 9.2 or something like that. But if you guys can get a rough visual here, I'll put my feet at the bottom, and you can see it's like 10 something, right? So it's good to know that these brakes are a lot bigger, and you can tell with the DAs because of how big it is right here in the middle, where the EF is like scrawny even across. But you can also tell by caliper part number right there. But 10-inch rotors, that's good. I got DA disc from Ricky's car in the storage, and when we get to doing the brake system, oh, DNA motoring, I didn't even see that. I'm probably gonna change these out eventually. But another thing I noticed too is that these upper control arms were changed out. They look fairly new, but because this car sat for a while, it got destroyed. But it looks like it can be changed. I'm not sure if I'm going to go with a camber kit on this car, but if I do, it's not going to be a cheap camber kit. And if I don't, I'm probably just going to put some stock ones on here, some new ones at least, and get rid of this hunk of junk. I did notice that it didn't even have any brake fluids in it, but it doesn't hurt to bleed it out anyway. So I just put the pin back on the brake pedal, and let's see what comes out of it. Nothing. That's good. So typically when you put a K-swap in an EF or a DA, you have to move your prop valve because it sits here, the valve cover sits here, and most people just bend it over like this, secure it somehow, and that's typically what you do with your brake lines and prop valve. But I'm not gonna have it sit there like my brother's car. My brother's car, I made a bracket from here to the firewall, held it in place. Works perfectly fine, but kind of with this engine bay, it'd be a little bit clean too after I paint it. So I might relocate this down here somewhere. Probably put a riv nut in here, bolt it down, redo the brake lines shorter to kind of sit out of the way of the eye, and make it look a little bit cleaner. But if I don't, I can always move it inside. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to bend this back, bolt it up here, and then I'm going to remove all of these lines. And then I think I'm going to focus on trying to get the brake lines situated before we start stripping the bay down, you know, get kind of at his new home location, and then we'll move forward with the engine bay. So, and that is the last one. So if you guys noticed right here, I did put some marks on it. the lines and the prop valve to kind of give me a reference of where these lines went. This is good practice for those that don't have like the manual. I have the manual for this car, or for those who are lazy to Google, you know, it's always nice to mark these before removing them, so if you are putting it back together, you know where the lines are going. So this prop valve is a 1725, and I'm going to be using a 4040 because DA front brakes, and probably put DA booster and master in here as well too, and DA rear disc, and it calls for a 4040 prop valve. I don't know if this might turn into a brake tuck video, but I think I'm going to run the prop valve inside. If you guys noticed, I pulled the two rear lines in, and I kind of routed it as far as I could this way using the stock lines without having to reflare. I think the only one that I have to reflare or make a new line is the passenger brake line, going from the line in the wheel well to the prop valve, which is not a big deal because I have a whole bunch of hard lines. But I'm going to have this somewhere here, and because we're still prepping the engine bay for paint, I'm probably going to weld some 10 mil to use it as a stud like this guy. These aren't threaded for the 10 mil, so I can't use it, although it reaches right. I'm gonna put a stud, like 2 of them right here, to hold the prop valve in place, right? And then right here I'm gonna drill 3 holes, 2 for the master line and 1 for the driver's side wheel well line. So I'm gonna find like an actual location for it. I'm gonna bring the welder out, weld those bolts in. But let me show you guys here in the engine bay side. I'm gonna take these 3, I'm gonna mark them right here to know that this is where I need to bend my lines, and I'm gonna drill 3 holes, 1, 2, 3, to run these 3 guys inside the car. Plenty of length to bend accordingly to get it to the prop valve, which is gonna be sitting somewhere up here. And I think that's what I'm gonna do as far as my brake line goes. Half in the bay, half in the cabin. Not the greatest job, but I can tell you that this is nicely firm on the firewall, which I didn't even realize that this was glued on. So I had grounding issues because this is separated by like some type of glue in the middle. But regardless, I moved the ground cable inside, clamped it on one of the studs, was able to lay down 3 tacks on each side, primered, and now prop valve is secured. Hell yeah. So right here I got the lines bent straight, 1, 2, and 3. This is gonna sit somewhere right there. I took the bracket off because I didn't want to break it, and it was also in the way for the time being. I took it off so I don't destroy it. I didn't show you guys feeding this through the hole, but it was a lot of bending and a lot of yeah. But anyways, I got all 3 of them routed in the hole. You can see I marked it 1, 2, and 3, and yeah, everything's kind of sitting in place right now. Just you know, give me my like the amount that needs to come out to go to their home locations before I, you know, route it to the prop valve. I don't know if the DA master is the same. I'm pretty sure it's the same formation, so I'm not worried about having to rebend these lines. But let's go inside the car. A lot of lines to play with. Definitely gonna have to cut these down. So like I said, I do have my flaring tool, and I think I'm just gonna hand bend these into their home location. Thank goodness it's just a short travel from these guys here to here. A little update here, I got 2 of the brake lines from the firewall installed, shortened and lengthened, and right now I'm about to do the last one. I'm gonna show you guys real quick. So I forgot what orientation these lines go on because the brake fluid like kind of took off all the colors of the markers. So I got my book right here. It tells me where all my brake lines are you know, going to and where they go on the prop valve. So this one right here is front left driver's side, and it goes on the bottom one right here in the back. Right now I am going to be bending this guy into place. I'm not worried about this end. I'm only worried about just this section not having crazy kinks or anything like that. And yeah, let's bend these. I definitely don't want these lines to touch each other, so I'm trying my best to keep them away from each other. So it looks like I'm going to be cutting somewhere right here. Got a rigid tube cutter. This is just an estimated length. I got plenty of play in case I undercut, but my cutter doesn't have that little sharp thing at the end to clean up the burrs on the hard line. I'm just going to use my knife, clean the center of this. I'm going to slide this in here first, thread pointing out, because we obviously got to thread that into the prop. I'm going to use my flaring tool right here. This is like an OEM brand from like AutoZone, O'Reilly's, 3/16, and I'm gonna go ahead and just clamp that down. The tube is sticking out of here like 1/4 inch maybe. Use the right size, whatever this little fitting is. Goes into the tube. So this one you tighten down until that tool becomes flushed on the silver tool right here. Once you do that, take it back out, remove that little piece, right? And then you flare it the second time without the little adapter piece until it is flush. If you've done a single flare, you'll see the difference or know the difference on a double flare, because it has a rounded edge and not a sharp edge like a single flare. So this looks good. So that's pretty much it for the 3 on the left. I still got to make one for the passenger side, and this will be done. So I removed all of the brake lines right here, 3 custom, and then I got this one straight. This one straight right here is for the passenger side because it is a tricky angle. So I'm gonna bend it once I paint the engine bay and permanently bolt all the brake stuff in place. But right now I am removing everything out of the engine bay. There are a few things that I want to keep black, like these little grommets. This one adds a little character to the bay instead of paint matching it or fully shaving it. And I'm not gonna go too crazy with the bay here. Clean these guys up, take this guy out, put tape in the back of those guys, and gotta remove that. And then motor mount, scuff the bay. This thing is very tricky to take off because you don't want to break that plastic that's on the arm back there. Alright guys, so last night, how far did we get? I spent a good 4 hours sanding the whole engine bay down, and I kept ripping a ton of gloves and I kept ripping a ton of my skin, but I was able to get everything sanded down, even in between the crevices with my giant hands. I got all those sanded out and kind of finalized it with like a 240 grit, and laid down some primer on some areas. I went down to the metal. I don't think I'm gonna prime this whole engine bay, since I am gonna be painting it the same color. This is pretty much like a base coat already, because I sanded it down to the original primer, or kind of dull out the original silver. But primer in some of the areas that were bare metal, and all of this right here is well through primer, because today we're going to be mounting the passenger rail mount, and I'm probably going to mock the motor up in here as well too, so that way we can get the mount in the right spot, engine sitting how it's supposed to be, and then we'll weld it in place. But first I'm going to prep the bracket a little bit, since it is red, right? So I got the engine installed in the car. I got all the mounts bolted in place, and this is another thing that I had to take care of, that I wanted to see how much I have to modify the subframe, where you can see the back end of the transmission interfering with the subframe here. And this is on the highest setting possible, so the back mount to the tranny bracket right here is on the bottom hole. And this guy is flipped to the highest setting, and this one is on the top bolt. And I think I'm gonna leave it like that for ground clearance. I know I can fit a K24 under the hood with EFK1 mounts. I did it last year in the Civic wagon, and this is a K20, so it's a little shorter. I'm sure I can get away with either cutting the web, or if you guys remember, I've had this for a very long time. This is before Hush Performance came out with these again. This is the SIR style USDM hood. I restored this a long time ago, and then somebody decided they wanted to scratch the hell out of it, but I can always repolish it, not a big deal. If I need to, I can use this hood. I think it'll go freaking awesome with black rims. But honestly, I think if I had just bolted up this bracket with that one bolt and welded it in place before the motor, it would have lined up perfectly fine. There's a lot of play in this bolt hole right here, and I just really wanted to mock up the motor just so I can get a better visual and be a lot more motivated, because I'm pretty excited. If you guys are too, man, be sure to hit the like button right now, because this is going to be awesome. The K20A2 that I'm going to be using is the one I scored from the junkyard to kind of keep this within the budget you know, zone of what I'm trying to do with this build. And this is a junkyard K20, which I got for a really good deal. So K20 over to K24, because I have other plans with the K24 actually going to be traded off for something else, and you guys stick around for that. Alright guys, so we have the engine removed out of the car. We have the mount fully secured into place. It is welded in 4 points. 1, 2, 3, and 4. The reason why I did 4 instead of the whole thing, it'd be easier to remove if I have to remove this mount for whatever reason. It's only 4 points instead of literally the whole perimeter. So this is primed, and I re-primed some areas again that were bare metal, and I think the bay is ready to be sprayed here soon. But right now off camera, I am going to spend a little bit more time scrubbing some spots like these dirt spot right here. I am going to keep it the same color, kind of make everything silver. I used to like different color engine bays, but I kind of grew over that phase, and I am going to keep the blade silver, and I'm going to toss a lot of clear coat on it to get it all nice and shiny, or at least shiny enough to throw you guys off from some of the imperfections in the engine bay. But remember guys, this is a budget build. It is a track car. It ain't got to be perfect. Progress is better than no progress, guys. Remember that. But I hope you guys are enjoying today's progress on the bay. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and if you guys want to stick around for all that is to come, the bay paint, the engine preparation, the swap, and everything else needed for the swap, I hope you guys hit the subscribe button, flick up that notification bell. I also did get the last piece to the puzzle for my cousin's car, so after I paint this bay, my cousin's car is going to be coming up here real soon, and we'll shed some light on what's going to be going down with his car. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.